Imagine stepping into the center of power, not as a conqueror, not as a threat, but as a reminder. Imagine standing before the most powerful man on earth with no leverage, no military force, and no proof that anything you say will matter. That is how this story begins. Pharaoh is not simply a ruler. He is the system. He decides who eats, who works, who lives comfortably, and who breaks under labor. Egypt functions because Pharaoh exists, and Pharaoh exists because the world believes he does. His authority is not debated, it is accepted. And then Moses returns, not as royalty, not as an equal, but as a man who once fled and now has to walk back into everything he ran from. Moses does not look impressive. He does not speak smoothly. He does not command attention by force. His confidence is quiet, almost reluctant. Yet he walks into the palace and delivers a message that directly challenges the foundation of Egyptian power. Let my people go. In that room, those words are absurd. Pharaoh hears them and does not feel threatened. He feels offended. This is not a request he can entertain, because entertaining it would mean admitting that someone else has authority. Pharaoh does not argue. He dismisses. He asks the only question that matters to him. Who is this God that I should listen to him? That question is not curiosity. It is defiance. Moses responds with signs, not speeches. A staff becomes a serpent. It is meant to demonstrate authority, but Pharaoh has his own experts. His magicians replicate the act. The room relaxes. Pharaoh confidence returns. Then something subtle happens. Moses' serpent consumes the others. It is not dramatic. It is not loud, but it is intentional. It is a warning. Pharaoh ignores it because when power has protected you long enough, warnings feel theoretical. Then Egypt begins to unravel. The Nile, the source of life and wealth, turns hostile. Water becomes undrinkable, fish die, the smell spreads, commerce slows. Pharaoh is irritated, not humbled. He waits it out. Frogs follow, not symbolic frogs, real ones, loud, invasive, unavoidable. They fill homes and beds and kitchens. The palace cannot escape them. Still, Pharaoh refuses to concede. Then come insects, then disease, then pain. Every plague removes a layer of control. Nature refuses to cooperate. The environment turns unpredictable. Health collapses, the illusion of order cracks, and every time Pharaoh is pressed, he promises change. He calls Moses back. He negotiates. He pleads. Then the moment relief comes, his pride snaps back into place. This pattern repeats because power hates being cornered. Moses watches as Egypt deteriorates. At this point, the confrontation is no longer about freeing slaves. It is about whether Pharaoh will admit limits, whether he can accept that authority is not absolute. Darkness falls, not night. Not absence of light, a weight, a presence, darkness that paralyzes movement and thought. For 3 days, Egypt is frozen. Fear spreads through the city. Meanwhile, the Israelites remain untouched. This contrast is intentional, but Pharaoh still refuses. The final warning is delivered without drama. No thunder, no fire, just consequence, the firstborn. That night, Egypt loses something it cannot replace. Power feels fragile, wealth feels useless. By morning, the empire is emotionally broken. Pharaoh calls for Moses. Not as a king, not as a god, as a man who has lost control. He orders them to leave, immediately, no conditions. The slaves walk out. Generations of bondage end in a single night. But pride is persistent. Pharaoh watches them go and realizes what he has lost: labor, status, identity. He does what power often does when it feels embarrassed. He chases. Chariots race toward the sea. The Israelites are trapped. Panic spreads. Moses stands still. He lifts his staff. The waters respond. Not violently, with intention. A path opens. The people cross. Pharaoh follows, convinced he can still reclaim control. The sea closes. Power collapses under its own arrogance. This story is not about miracles alone. It is about authority meeting resistance it cannot dominate. It is about what happens when leadership mistakes permanence for entitlement. And this is not the end. Because freedom creates new problems. Structure disappears, fear shifts form, and the wilderness will test these people in ways slavery never did. Next time, we talk about life after Egypt, about wandering, about impatience, about how quickly people miss the chains they once begged to escape. Fade out.